What's up to all my conscious authors and readers out there? It's your boy Ian, aka Young Crit, here today to talk about why you, yes you, that beautiful budding writer listening right now, should never, ever, ever pay anybody to read your work. And this has been a sleazeball tactic used since the start of the industry. Agents making people pay, people in hierarchical or positions of bureaucracy, having people who have these big dreams pay them to read work that they'll never read or never publish. You guys know about that. And first of all, never pay anybody a large sum of money to read your work. But now the small publishing houses and journals have started to charge $2, $3, $5, $7 to read authors' works. And this is first of all, a terrible idea that is mean and deceptive because it preys upon the well-known insecurities of writers. But second, it shows what a terrible job journals and publishing houses have done at creating a new market of readers out there. Because I'm sure, as you know, AI, video games, Netflix, movies have been destroying the writing world, have been destroying the writing market. But instead of expanding ourselves, instead of creating rivals and superstars and super authors, we have been the response has been a couple things: to nicheify down, to pander down, to go down to certain communities and try to sell the micro genres or subsets of culture. And that can work, but that is not a long-term strategy because those things change and those markets are going to continue to get smaller. Second, they have these organizations have started to almost a lot of them have started to rely completely on university money, government grant money, outside donor money. And that has, of course, been shown to destroy artistic integrity and promote laziness within the organization because they aren't selling to people who want to read. They can sell. They don't need to sell, really. And then third, they're now starting to charge writers to make profits. And I've worked at these journals and I've read all the terrible submissions and been an editor or and edited, people's stuff for submissions. And some journals get hundreds, if not thousands of submissions. And if they're charging $5, they're going to be making thousands of dollars off of these submissions, money that they actually don't need. And it's a sad practice because all of these things are just going to destroy the industry. Because Vince McMahon, the CEO and creator of WWE Pro Wrestling, once said that if you gave him enough time, he could sell out an arena where two broomsticks were fighting. And, that's true. But we don't have that vigor. We don't have that vigor that we see certain other industries have, that promotional ability, because there's this certain mystique in the writing world that us as authors have, but especially the people who are running these journals and publishing houses have. Because a lot of people who are running these organizations are at the top, the main editors and some of the readers are failed writers. I hate to say it. Most of them aren't. They wanted to be writers. They wanted to do this. Or even failed readers, failed runners of their own organization. And what they do is that they bring that same mystique that they thought that they needed to use to become a writer into the world. They publish avant-garde and experimental stuff, but they don't think about the actual readers. They don't understand the avatars and the market that they need to promote to, and they need to promote hard to. And they think that that's above them, that ruins the aesthetic, that if they're out there being a traveling salesman or if they're out there really promoting fights, that it's going to hurt the artistic integrity of their organization. So they're literally digging their own grave for an aesthetic. And that's what has destroyed the industry for the last, it's been a part of the industry forever because, it was the rich and certain types of people who could write. And now it's just been the hipsters and the university professors. And we, as writers, are also enabling this by submitting our work to these people. Because guess what? This is why people, and I'm going to be speaking of short story authors and poets mostly right now, is that most people think that this is their line of thinking, that if I get published in enough big journals, that I'll have some credibility, and then I'll be able to find an agent because they see my credibility and how I write, and then that agent is going to help me publish a novel or publish a short story collection or a poetry collection with a big name like Random House or Penguin or whoever. And then I'll make money, and then I'm going to be the person. Guess what? Only a couple people actually do that. And when I mean a couple, not that many people actually live out that reality. And to live out that reality, they have to move through a corrupted industry where these companies are charging people for their work. And then worse, not actually selling to readers. They're creating fake markets for whatever, social justice reason or whatever to sell to, instead of trying to sell books to sell books. Because if they were selling books to sell books, they would be selling books. Because we saw, and if you don't believe me, look what happened with Kindle, the Kindle revolution. How many millions, tens of millions of books are sold every single year that are self-published, void of the industry. The industry was not needed. There are holes and market gaps that can be filled. But that requires these companies to get off of their high horse and down into the muck, down into the people. They're going to have to publish things that they never thought they were going to have to publish. Fan fiction, erotica, like all these different types of things that they think that they're too good to publish that people want to read. And then if they actually started publishing that, the work would actually reach a level that was like a literary fiction level instead of being the Kindle level. But let's not get too off track, everybody. Never, and that's why I'm telling you that you should never pay, because this is the funnel that people either think that they're going to do that, or they think that if they get enough publications that they're going to be able to work for a university, that a community college, or they're going to get a tenured position as a creative writing or literature professor, and boom, then they can just cruise along. They can make their $50,000 a year and cruise along and be a part of another industry that is hurting the writing world, the university system. And, publish in journals that nobody reads. See, it's all the same cycle. It's all not publishing the stuff that people want to read because of some weird aesthetic, or because they want to just be a part of a system that's already been created for them to make money. They want to be the exceptional few that make money from either a day job or through the publishing industry. But there is a solution out there, everybody. And it starts with understanding your true power and your true potential. Because like I said, a lot of writers have insecurities, and they don't want to get in front of a camera like this and do hard-nosed promotions, or even get on the computer and promote. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do any of that. I'm going to give a couple different solutions. But the real solution is starting to build an audience through releasing free work. So for instance, this week I wrote a short story. How I would start was that I would write a short story a week, because if you're a true author, you should be working 30 to 50 hours a week. And that's enough output to produce a finished, clean short story, or 10 to 20 poems, or, at least a chapter in your novel. And so if you do that, pretend I wrote a short story this week, and I then put my short story on Amazon for $3. And with the 70% cut that I would get, I would make $2 per sale. And this is just for an ebook. Pretend I had 100 people buy that, and I released one a week. That means I would make $800 a month, $200 a week. $800 a month is a pretty good start, and more than you would make in the publishing industry, because the actual running rates, and these are high balls that you would make if you publish a short story in the biggest journals, are $200 to $1,000. And like I said, those are very rare and very hard to get, and there's hundreds of applicants to that. And now with the old system, which I used to participate in, is that you would be churning out a short story a week and some poems, and you'd be sending it to 20 or 30 places, and just sending hundreds of submissions out, and then maybe get a couple a month, or a couple every couple months. But first of all, we know that these houses take months to get back to us. They charge us our $5, but they take 2 to 6 months for us to receive a reply. So it's hard to maintain a consistent income that way. Second of all, it's not guaranteed. Like, this money is not guaranteed. And third, it's not consistent. It's not consistent at all. But if you, let's say, write a short story and publish it, and 100 people buy it every single week, that is almost guaranteed. You know that if you publish and 100 people usually buy, that 100 people are going to continue to buy. You have now guaranteed yourself a market, instead of going out to this weird world where your voice may not be understood. That's the other thing, that there's so many people who aren't liked by these markets. and they start to have, and they don't get published. I know a lot of people like that. I know a guy who published in the New Yorker, for instance, the biggest magazine in the world. He published a group of poems in there. Guess how much he got paid? $0. That's how much they pay authors who aren't Haruki Murakami or somebody. And it was sad. And guess what? He's not a writer anymore because he could never make enough money to do it. And he didn't want to be a professor. But with this method I'm talking about, and this is how you start. You start releasing free work. You buy a domain name, or you start a free WordPress or Blogspot site, and you start releasing free work. You start driving people to that work through, even through social media, but just on forums, on writing forums, talking to people and trying to get people to your website. Then you have them join your email list. And to join your email list, maybe give them 3 or 4 short stories. And like I said, if you're churning out a short story or a group of poems every single week, that's going to be enough content. You can spend a month creating a nice little lead, we call it a lead magnet, to get an email. And then once you get maybe a couple hundred emails, your conversion rate should maybe be, we'll say, 20%. So if you have 500 people and you have a 20% conversion rate, 100 people will buy your book. So let's say that happens. You can get to that level. So now you're making every single week $200. And this is possible because I have done it before. I know, and this is a crazy statistic, that 10,000 people are full-time Kindle authors. That's crazy. If there are 10,000 people out there, you can do it too. Like, you are good enough to be a part of that 10,000 people. Anyway, so let's expand that number a little bit. So let's say you get 1,000, dude, think if you had 1,000 people buying your short story every week for $3. That's $3,000 a week. $3,000 a week. I just said $2,000 a week. That's $8,000 a month. And if we look at that, that's $96,000 a year. You're almost a 6-figure author if you just slowly increase that number. And that may seem like a far shoot, a long shot. But even if you are only at 500, that's still $50,000 a year. And if you want to expand that into something bigger, you could, if you're producing one a week, you could write 8 stories every 2 months, for instance, and release a short story collection of 8 stories every 2 months and charge, we'll say, $12, $13 for that, and then probably profit $7, $8. So every 2 months, if you have 500 people buy your $8 profit book, you make $4,000 every 2 months. So $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year. There's another method to, being able to get closer to surviving with your books. And this is, once again, well known, but the short story and poetry world hasn't pushed themselves onto Kindle yet. They haven't done the promotion because they are so caught up in this publishing mindset. This mindset because a lot of us went through MFA programs or through creative writing programs or saw that this is how other people did it. But that's not how it works anymore. Because if you are paying, so let's say I forgot to mention, so if I'm sending the old method of sending 20 or 30 submissions out a week for a short story, if I have to pay $3 to $5 per submission, I'm going to have to pay $100 just to maybe get it looked at. So I'm already in a $100 deficit, but what if no one publishes it? Or what if someone publishes it for only $200? So you're starting to see that the numbers are starting to get wonky, and the only real solution now is to either create our own publishing houses that honor the market or create our own market. It all comes back down to creating our own market and honoring the market. I don't understand where it comes back down to this avant-garde mindset that we're not writing for the people. We write for ourselves. We need to write for art and for in nature. But then when we're in the revising period, we need, and not even the revise, you can write whatever you want, but then you need to market it and promote it in a way that people are going to understand what it's about. You need to market it to the right group of people, And people aren't doing that. They post it on Kindle and they hope and dream that something's going to happen. Things don't work like that, everybody. So thank you guys for hanging out. Those are my ideas. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I missed anything, or if charging money is a required necessity, if charging broke authors $2 or $3 for their submission is a good idea. Let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. Thank you guys for watching and have a great day.